Good morning. Beautiful Sunday morning in Mildura. Welcome to a tertiary world. Some more stories from Park Street. One of 7 east-west streets. Park Street is the 3rd street, its colour is yellow. This memory is green. The corner of Park and Nicholson Street. How many loaves have I bought from here over the years? Each one perfect in its own way, each one a unique expression of earth, water, fire and air, all coming together in order to nourish us. Doesn't the fragrance tell the whole of the story? Doesn't it immediately impact us on a primal level, suddenly dispelling doubts about the usefulness of this or that thing, about the relevance of hurts and grievances? Survival is never sweeter than when contemplating a warm loaf, many warm loaves stacked on shelves inside a room in which, through each day, numerous people devote themselves to this sweet art. The particular bakery was the first in Melbourne that provided me with this particular pleasure, this joyfulness. But this goes back to the very first time I truly understood what the eating of bread might mean. It was the summer of 1967. I was travelling through southern Italy, and I had somehow strayed into Alberobello, a small town in the Puglie. This is the region of Italy dotted with trulli, the ancient conical stone constructions of mysterious origin, whose inner and outer walls are rendered dazzlingly white with lime. I had never seen or heard of the trulli, and I had to stop the car in sheer astonishment when I suddenly entered this region and saw them dotting the countryside all around me. I had never seen anything like this, and I wondered for a moment where I had strayed. Was this really Italy? It was early morning and a bakery in the town's main square had just opened. I was suddenly hungry and I parked the car outside a bakery. Just as I was leaving with a loaf of bread, too hot to hold, a delivery boy came sweeping in noisily, balancing a few trays of fresh ricotta. The baker saw me turn to admire the piles of warm, moist ricotta, and he insisted I buy some, instructing me on how I should fold it into the warm bread, just as he was about to do. I bought some and did as he did. After obtaining his considered approval, I went to sit on a bench in a little square outside the bakery. Water was running somewhere in a courtyard and children were squealing excitedly. I remember looking around as I held the food in both my hands. I felt at that moment that the universe was for an instant perfectly poised in the mid-flight of a journey back. And this is what I felt most urgently, a journeying back to its origin. The corner of Park and Ray streets. The colour is blue. I might have even watched Johnny Moxon himself throw a rock or two through its windows. I'm not really sure. All I know is that as soon as the SEC finally vacated this former power station, all its windows over a period of about a week were shattered by rock throwers. We certainly ran past there in our nightly excursions into the suburban darkness, and as we did, I always wondered why this couldn't become a proper apartment building with its huge windows overlooking the Park Street trees, with families having dinner each evening inside a warm and comfortable dining room. Years ago, after being away from Melbourne for many months, I happened to drive past it. A huge sign declaring this building the future home for aged Italians had been erected along the footpath on its Ray Street frontage. Since that day, I've always wanted my parents to live in there, preferably on the top floor overlooking the city. I even inquired some years ago, but the costs were way beyond my family's means. Only those Italians who ironically moved out of Fitzroy, Collingwood and Carlton in the 1970s to occupy homes on large blocks in Doncaster and Forest Hill can now afford to return to such aged care homes. Those large outer suburban houses, now emptied of children, are being sold so that their ageing owners can return to live in their old neighbourhood power station. As they look out from their comfortable sitting rooms onto the suburb they once walked as young migrants, they must wonder what has happened to it all. It must now be hardly recognisable. Every factory or warehouse has been transformed into apartment blocks, and virtually every house has been renovated. They are to spend their last years inside the once derelict building they insisted their children must not run to play all those years ago. They are now living on that extremely dangerous site their children had to keep away from, with all those rats lurking, all those twisted metal beams jutting out dangerously from the foundations, and all that broken glass hiding in the summer grass, just waiting for all those young, unprotected feet to injure. Now the redeemed power station holds them captive and beckons them to witness through the picture windows the inevitable cycle of destruction, redemption, and destruction once more. To some, it even extends a silent invitation to consider how its story might parallel that of their own lives. The corner of Park and Brunswick, this colour is violet. Each time I drive or walk past the intersection of Brunswick and Park Streets, I notice men sitting on the few benches scattered around the open grassy space. They sit in silence, and they're mostly older men, probably Greek or Italian. I wonder about their lives, how far they've come to meet this moment, sitting alone in the tepid winter sun, staring into middle distance under the streaky skies of the south. I wonder what food they have in their refrigerators and how many dishes are stacked in their sinks. I wonder what their bathrooms look like, how old the razor blades inside the little white cabinets above the hand basins are, how much light the curtain lets in through each bedroom window, whether each pillow slip is indelibly etched with the weight of untold dreams, realised and unrealised, undreamt even. This was written 12 years ago, but it's amazing how suddenly I could quite easily be one of those men. It makes me smile at the irony, the paradoxical nature of our lives. Time is indeed so elastic. Until tomorrow, when I will complete Park Street and move on to the next street, Pigden Street, whose colour is green. Until tomorrow.